Help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, I booked a surprise weekend getaway for our anniversary, but when I arrived at the hotel, my wife was already there, and she wasn't alone. I always believed that the 7th year of marriage was supposed to be the hardest, but I never thought mine would start unraveling with a hotel reservation. It was a Wednesday morning when I decided to surprise my wife, Marissa. Our anniversary was coming up that weekend, and she had mentioned she'd be away for a business trip, a corporate retreat at the Hilton Coastal Bay. She sounded exhausted when she explained it. Said there would be too many spreadsheets, not enough champagne. I told her we'd celebrate when she got back, but secretly, I called the hotel and booked a suite 2 floors above hers. I had this vision in my head, me showing up with flowers, a bottle of her favorite red, maybe even that playlist we used to dance to in the kitchen. I took Friday off without telling her and drove 6 hours to the hotel. The receptionist greeted me with a polite smile until I gave her my last name. Her eyes blinked like something clicked. "Oh," she said, "your wife is already here. She checked in yesterday." My heart paused. "Yesterday? She's in room 405. The woman added before I could process the timeline. I didn't correct her. I didn't tell her that I hadn't mentioned my wife's name. I just took the keycard, nodded, and walked away. Stunned, Marissa wasn't supposed to arrive until Friday night. She lied. The elevator ride felt like it lasted an hour. I kept hearing her voice in my head. Casual, distant. The way she'd been lately. How long had she been pulling away? I stood outside room 405, staring at the number like it had answers. There was silence behind the door. And then a thud. Footsteps. I backed up before they could reach it, but I couldn't walk away. So I sat in the hallway, phone in hand, watching, waiting. And that's when I saw it. A man walked out of her room. He wasn't a bellboy. He wasn't wearing a name tag. He was wearing her bathrobe. He turned, kissed someone just out of sight behind the door, and then walked down the hallway with a grin like he owned the world. I didn't follow him. I turned my camera on and pointed it toward the door, just as Marissa stepped out, barefoot, laughing, holding 2 champagne glasses. And that's when she froze. She saw me, and everything changed. What would you do if you caught your spouse like this, red-handed in your anniversary week, in a hotel you paid for? Stick around, because in the next chapter, Daniel will decide whether to confront her now, or do something even colder. Don't miss what happens next. Up next in the following chapter. Marissa stood there barefoot in the hallway, frozen like a deer in headlights, holding both champagne flutes like they were about to shatter in her hands. She didn't say my name. She didn't say anything at all. Her mouth opened, then closed again, like she was scrambling for a story she hadn't rehearsed. The man in the bathrobe was already gone, so she couldn't use him as a shield, and I just raised my phone slightly and hit stop on the recording. She took one slow step forward, her voice finally cracking. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the small gift box I'd brought. The engraved bracelet she told me she'd always wanted but never bought for herself. I didn't hand it to her. I just held it between my fingers, looked at it, then placed it gently on the hallway floor. "Happy anniversary," I said, my voice flat. Then I walked past her, back into the elevator, back down to the lobby, and I didn't look back. The car ride home felt like a funeral, except no one had died. Not physically, anyway. I couldn't stop replaying her face in my head. The panic, the guilt, the disbelief that I had actually shown up. Did she think I never would? Did she think I would never find out? By the time I got home, I had 6 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and 14 messages from her. None of them had an apology. All of them started with excuses. She claimed the man was a colleague who had too much to drink, that it was a joke. And nothing happened. She even tried turning it on me, asking what kind of person follows their spouse across state lines without telling them. That's when I realized something else. This wasn't the first time she lied, just the first time she got caught. And maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't be the last. Would you confront her directly, or wait and let her destroy herself with her own lies? Because what Daniel does next will catch not only Marissa off guard, but even you, Keep watching because in the next chapter, everything gets darker. Up next in the following chapter. The next morning, I called Marissa and told her I wanted to talk. Calmly, she sounded relieved, even cheerful, like the storm had passed. I told her I was willing to hear her out in person. No yelling, just honesty. We met at a quiet diner near our home. One we used to go to when things were simpler. She wore her soft blue sweater, the one I got her last Christmas. Like she wanted to remind me of who she used to be, and for a second, I almost fell for it, but I had already decided. I wasn't going to argue, I wasn't going to accuse, I was going to play the long game. She told me again that it was all a misunderstanding. She claimed the guy in the robe, Derek, was a coworker who had shown up uninvited. She insisted she was just being polite by letting him inside for one drink, in matching champagne flutes, in a robe, at a hotel. I nodded slowly, pretending to consider her words. Then I smiled and told her I believed her. Her face lit up. She reached for my hand across the table. I let her hold it, but in that moment my plan was already in motion. Because what she didn't know was that I had already sent the hotel footage to a private investigator I found through a friend. He was already digging into Marissa's phone records, travel history, and credit card statements. If there was a pattern, I'd know it soon. And if there wasn't, well, I'd find something. Later that night, Marissa kissed me like nothing had happened, and I kissed her back, because sometimes the best revenge starts with forgiveness. But inside, I was cold, focused, and deadly calm. The kind of calm that always comes before a storm. She thought she got away with it, but what Daniel finds next will break this story wide open. You won't believe who's really behind everything. Keep watching because in the next chapter, one message changes everything. Stay tuned for what happens in the next chapter. It was just past midnight when my phone buzzed. I was alone in my study, pretending to review quarterly reports for work. But really I was refreshing my inbox every few minutes. That's when the investigator's message came through. You need to see this. Check the attachment. My heart pounded as I opened the file. Inside were screenshots of Marissa's recent hotel bookings. Not one, but 3 separate reservations over the past 2 months, all under her maiden name. One reservation stood out. It matched the exact time and location of her business trip 3 weeks ago. The one she said was for a training seminar in Chicago, but the room wasn't registered under her company's name. It was under Derek Sanders, the same name she casually brushed off as just a colleague. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. The investigator had also included a photo from the hotel's security cameras. Marissa and Derek, holding hands in the elevator, laughing, too close for colleagues, too intimate for strangers. Still, part of me wanted to believe there was an explanation, some rational reason, but the image burned into my mind like a brand. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay next to her, listening to her soft breathing, wondering how long she had been living this double life, and wondering what else she was hiding. The next morning, I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I decided to push further, to follow the trail until the end. I called the hotel pretending to be Derek Sanders, claiming I needed an invoice for reimbursement. To my surprise, the woman at the front desk asked, "Would you like us to send it to the same email as last time?" I paused. "Yes," I said, and a few seconds later, I had the email address. Derek Marissa at getawaymail.com. They had a joint account, a secret email account. That wasn't just cheating, that was premeditated. But the most shocking part? There was an unread message in that inbox, forwarded by the investigator. It was a booking confirmation for next weekend at a luxury hotel in our city, only 15 minutes from our home. She was planning to do it again. With everything I had now, I could have gone straight to confrontation, but instead, I smiled because I had a better idea. You won't believe what Daniel does next. If you think the revenge is coming soon, you have no idea how far this plan will go. Get ready for one of the most satisfying plot twists yet. Keep watching. Don't miss what's coming up in the next chapter. I spent the entire week preparing for the moment, not for a confrontation, but for a performance, one where every piece had to fall into place perfectly. I called the hotel where Marissa and Derek had made their next reservation, posing as Derek Sanders again. I requested a small change. A special anniversary surprise in the room, champagne, rose petals, and, most importantly, a hidden camera installed. As part of the surprise experience, the concierge, amused, agreed. Then, I booked the room next door, under a different name, of course. I used a temporary email and prepaid card to keep it clean. I wasn't just going to catch them. I was going to record everything, every whisper, every touch, every lie. At home, I played it cool. Marissa didn't suspect a thing. She packed her overnight bag Thursday night, humming to herself in the bathroom. She told me she'd be gone 4-1 day only. It's a team-building offsite, totally boring. I kissed her goodbye Friday morning like always, then followed her to the hotel. She walked into the lobby alone, wearing a beige coat and heels I'd never seen before. A gift from Derek, maybe? She looked around cautiously, then headed to the elevator. Derek arrived 15 minutes later, with a smugness on his face that made my blood boil. But I didn't move. I waited. When they entered the room, the concierge delivered everything as planned. Then silence, then laughter, then the sound of a zipper. I had it all. But this wasn't just about proof anymore. It was about justice, and I knew exactly when to act. The next morning, I returned to the hotel while they were still asleep. I slipped a note under the door that read, "Smile for the camera. I hope it was worth everything." Then I sent the footage to Marissa's personal email, and another copy to her boss. She woke up to hell, and I watched from across the hallway as she read the message on her phone, and her face turned white. She gasped, then turned to Derek. He jumped out of bed in panic, grabbing his pants, checking his phone. They both ran out of the room half-dressed, heading to the elevator in total chaos. But it wasn't over. It had only just begun. What happens when Marissa realizes who's behind the setup? And what if Daniel's revenge takes an even darker turn? You're not ready for what's next? Keep watching. More shocking revelations are coming in the next chapter. By Sunday morning, my phone had already buzzed with over 20 missed calls from Marissa. She never left voicemails, but this time she did. Her voice cracked, panicked, begging me to please call her back, swearing she could explain everything. Explain what exactly? The video was irrefutable. There were no shadows left to hide in, and she knew it, but I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the footage to HR at her company. And yes, to Derek's wife, who ID found through some quick social media searching. She had 2 kids on her Instagram and a bio that read wife mom. Building a life with Derek, that hit hard. Hard enough to make this feel like justice, not just revenge. Marissa came home that evening looking like a ghost. No makeup, eyes puffy, hair tied back in a bun she clearly hadn't touched all day. "Daniel, can we talk?" I stood in the kitchen with my arms crossed, silent. I wasn't going to make it easier for her. She broke almost instantly, dropped her purse, knelt on the floor and started sobbing uncontrollably. "I made a mistake," she cried. "A huge, horrible mistake. It didn't mean anything. I don't know why I did it. I swear I still love you." I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But most of all, I wanted the truth, not the curated version she was offering. "Why him, Marissa?" I finally asked. "You could have told me you were unhappy. You could have asked for space. Instead, you lied. You planned weekends around this. You made me think I was the paranoid one." She wiped her nose and whispered, "It wasn't about love. It was about control. About power. Derek made me feel seen, important. You were always so put together. I felt small next to you. That cut deeper than any affair." She didn't cheat because she loved someone else. She cheated because she hated herself next to me. And suddenly, I wasn't just angry. I was done. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "You don't get to cry on my floor and expect forgiveness like this is a bad dream," I said coldly. "I'm not your safe space anymore." She burst into tears again, but I walked out of the room, not upstairs, not to another room, out the door. I drove until the sun had fully set and parked in a grocery store lot, just sitting in silence, feeling the weight of the years we had spent together collapse into a pile of broken pieces. But I still had one more thing to do, because even though she was hurting now, consequences had only begun. And tomorrow morning, something much bigger was about to land on her desk. What did Daniel plan next? What final card is he about to play that could change everything? Don't stop now. The next chapter might just break the internet. Keep watching. The twist you've been waiting for is coming. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop, rewatching the footage I had taken at the hotel. Every second felt heavier than the last. But I wasn't watching it to hurt myself. I was watching it to make a decision. It was around 5:30 a.m. when I uploaded the footage to a secure folder. But this time, I didn't just send it to HR. I sent it to the CEO of Marissa's company. I found his public business email listed in a press release from last year, along with the subject line, confidential footage, urgent ethical violation from 2 employees. Within 20 minutes, I got a reply, short, professional, but it said exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We are initiating an internal investigation immediately. Please consider this matter confidential for now. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The avalanche had already started. By the time Marissa left for work that morning, her face pale, her hands trembling. I didn't say a word. She looked at me from the door, almost as if expecting a goodbye, but I just sipped my coffee and stared past her. Out the window, she left in silence. An hour later, I received a message from a blocked number. Just 3 words. You ruined me. It had to be Derek. I smiled bitterly. Ruined? No. They ruined themselves the second they thought they were above consequences. But the true twist came when I got a LinkedIn message from an anonymous account. It read, "You think Marissa was only with Derek? You should ask her about the client trip to Chicago last year." Then they attached a blurry photo. It was Marissa, in a cocktail dress, holding hands with a man who definitely wasn't Derek. Or me. My blood ran cold. I zoomed in over and over, trying to confirm the face. And when I did, I laughed, because the man in the photo was none other than the same CEO who had just promised to investigate her. And that changed everything. Just when you thought the worst was over, Daniel discovers a betrayal that goes even higher than he imagined. What will he do now with the truth in his hands? Don't miss what comes next. This story is far from over. Keep watching. The final chapters will leave your jaw on the floor. I couldn't look away from the screen. The grainy photo sat in front of me like a ticking bomb. Marissa, smiling intimately, holding hands with Thomas Keane, the CEO who had just emailed me about launching an internal investigation. Suddenly, everything clicked. Her confidence in keeping the affair secret, her calmness under pressure, even her subtle smirk the night before. She was never afraid of getting caught, because she believed she was protected by the most powerful man in the entire company. I scrolled back to the email from Thomas, rereading every word. I noticed how carefully he avoided naming names. There was no commitment to consequences, just empty corporate language. The confidentiality request now felt like a thinly veiled threat. I needed proof, not just the photo. I needed something undeniable, and so I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to an old friend, Ethan, who used to work in corporate security and owed me a favor. I sent him the image and asked if he could confirm when and where it was taken. He replied 2 hours later with hotel data, timestamp metadata, and internal ID matching. And yes, it was from the annual business retreat to Chicago 9 months ago. I remembered that trip. Marissa had been gone for 3 days. She told me it was all meetings and late-night spreadsheets. But now I saw the truth. She wasn't just cheating with her boss. She was climbing the ladder on her back. I was furious, not just at her, but at myself, for believing her, for defending her when people warned me. But then I made a decision. If Thomas wanted silence, he would regret underestimating me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted exposure. So I scheduled a mass email, one to be sent the next morning, to the entire company mailing list, with the subject line, "Leadership Ethics Matter. What you deserve to know." And attached, the photo, the hotel log, and Marissa's recent work calendar, which lined up perfectly. Then I scheduled the message, 9:00 am, the exact time the Monday morning all-staff meeting would begin, and I waited. What will happen when the truth hits the inboxes of an entire company? Will Daniel's bold move take down the house of lies, or burn him with it? Don't miss what comes next. The final chapters are explosive, Keep watching, things are about to erupt. At exactly 9 a.m., my phone buzzed with the alert. Your scheduled email has been sent. I stared at the screen, heartbeat in my throat. There was no going back now. The truth was out. In inboxes, on phones, on desktops, across the entire building, I imagined the staff gathered in the conference room, some still sipping their coffee, some barely awake. And then that single subject line lighting up their screens like a match on gasoline. 30 seconds later, the first ping came through, then another, and another. I opened my inbox to a storm of replies. Some were short. What the hell? Others long, detailed, shocked. Screenshots of group chats started flooding in. Someone had already forwarded the email to the press. And then came the panic. Marissa called me. 7 missed calls in 3 minutes. I didn't answer. She switched to texts. First furious, then desperate, then something that chilled me. You don't understand what you've done. At first, I thought she meant her job was at risk, that Thomas would be exposed. But then it hit me. This wasn't just about an affair or a scandal. There was something bigger. At 10:07 a.m., my doorbell rang. Hard. I opened it to find a courier with an envelope. Legal looking. Inside, a cease and desist letter from the company, threatening legal action. Immediately, they knew it was me. They were trying to silence me, but it was too late. The email had already gone viral internally, and someone, probably a whistleblower, had sent it to a local reporter. The media was knocking. What began as a personal betrayal had turned into a full-on corporate firestorm, and I was at the center of it. But just when I thought I had seen everything, another email arrived. No subject, just an attachment. I opened it. It was a video, security camera footage from the hotel, from that night, but not from the hallway, from inside the room. And what I saw changed everything. What was in that shocking video? What secret has Daniel just uncovered? And who sent it to him? Stay right here, because what happens next will blow your mind. Don't go anywhere. The final chapter is coming. I stared at the video, hand trembling, as the first frame loaded. It wasn't what I expected. Yes, it was the hotel room. Yes, it was Marissa and Thomas. But there was someone else in the room too. Another man. Older, balding, wearing a dark suit. Sitting in the corner, watching. He wasn't part of the affair. He was observing and filming. For the first few seconds, I couldn't breathe. Then the man leaned into the frame just enough for the camera to catch his ID badge. Dale Whitmore, regional director. That was Thomas's boss, which meant Thomas wasn't the one in charge. He was the pawn. It all made sense. The promotion offers, the hush-hush meetings, the unexplained expenses covered by the company. This wasn't just a secret affair. It was a setup, a corporate seduction ring, executives luring lower-level staff and their spouses into traps. Recording them, blackmailing them. I felt my blood go cold, and then I realized something even darker. I wasn't the first, and I probably wouldn't be the last. This video, this proof, it was never meant for me. It was meant as insurance. But someone inside the company had enough. Someone wanted it to stop. That's why they sent it to me. A quiet act of rebellion. I immediately uploaded the file to a secure drive and shared it anonymously with 2 investigative journalists. The fallout? Massive. Within 48 hours, Dale Whitmore was fired. 2 more directors resigned. An internal investigation exploded into a federal case. The company's stock plummeted. Marissa, though, she packed a bag and left town. No note.
No apology.
Just gone. And me? I rebuilt. Painfully, but with purpose. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't just destroy your world. It opens your eyes to the rot beneath everything. And if I hadn't caught my wife cheating in that hotel, I never would have uncovered the empire of lies that had been built around us all. If you made it this far, tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Daniel's place? Was the revenge worth it, or did it go too far? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for the next story that will leave you speechless.